Hi everyone, and welcome to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with Wendy K. Laidlaw. Wendy has spent the last 2 years helping women with various stages of endometriosis to heal naturally after putting her condition into remission. After her own healing success from stage 4 endometriosis and adenomyosis, she's inspired to heal others, and her goal is to help some of the 175 million women know that there is another way other than painkillers, drugs, or surgery. This is the place to be for real talk with real people for real results, so you can learn how to heal your endometriosis naturally. Please note that the opinions expressed in this program may represent options, but are not a substitute for proper medical care. Before starting any new healthcare program, we recommend you consult with a health professional.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's podcast with me, Wendy K. Laidlaw. The title of this week's podcast is The 7 Signs of Snakes in the Grass. Now, many reptiles and mammals have been used for centuries to describe the callous nature of some humans that roam this planet, from weasel to worm to sloth, slug, vulture, snake, cockroach, serpents. But I think snakes are popular due to the fact that they are notoriously known for their unpredictable nature and nasty bite, and whilst they are vicious in the reptilian world, they also appear to be well known in the human form as well. A snake in the grass is an idiom that extends back to antiquity. A snake in the grass may be a sneaky person who appears harmless or even friendly, but in fact is quite treacherous. But before I get into this some more and give you more details of why this has been being discussed this week, let's start off with a little poem I wrote about the humankind version of a snake. There once was a snake living down by the lake that looked so innocent and shy. Although it looked quiet and sad, inside it hid all of its bad, and it was contained within the scales surrounding him. Some thought him a little weird, and he was never revered, and so many felt so pathetically sorry for him. He dressed in a shroud and complained very loud about how poor and tough his life was. Yet it was all just a ruse designed to confuse, for he cared not a jot for anyone. He lived in his house as quiet as a mouse, with the rage of the devil contaminating him. His ego was large, enough to power a barge, stalking big names and status people. Yet his plights for the masses fell short on the weak passes, because there hosted a hole where a heart should reside. He feigned concern for others, although not for any of his brothers, because that might have meant doing some work. He was lazy and depressive, which was actually quite impressive, because his mouth ran amok with lies of fairy tale exploits. But I want to do good, he would cry into his hood, yet misunderstood that making a difference meant servitude. His whole ached to be filled with a heart that someday he would part and be remembered as someone significant. He would learn at the end that nice people mend and sincere relationships that matter the most. Sadly, their ruse is just to confuse and orchestrate a mirage of fairy tale and folklore. Then they slowly slither off, accompanied by their slugs, back to the rough, with their venom filled up for the next target. And the reason I wrote this poem is because I had a situation occur a couple of weeks ago, and I felt it was appropriate for women with endometriosis, who we all know have very big hearts and have a very sensitive disposition to other people, that you may share some comfort from this. So the past few weeks have once again encouraged my growth personally and professionally. People I thought that were friends turned out to be colluding and conniving behind my back and involved in what would turn out to be a smear campaign with unsuspecting students. The sad thing is, I'd had my suspicions for some time, even questioned proceedings at times. My gut instincts were alerted on several occasions, yet I ignored them. My mind had convinced me that I was being too sensitive and made excuses for their foul and furtive behaviour. I've heard of gang mentality and weak bullies banding together to focus on one person. I hadn't experienced anything like that myself previously. I'd only read it and heard my daughter discuss how immature kindergarten children may be and how they succumb occasionally to this type of approach. What was interesting to watch in slow motion over a period of time was the subtle yet destructive nature of it. The little put-downs, the teasing of aspects of personality that were not funny, their inability to have the very same jokes reflected back to them, their snide remarks, their undercutting behaviour, the aggression, the double standards, the lies, the laziness, and the total disrespect and disregards for anyone other than themselves. Yet these snakes, these toxic people reside and are spread throughout our society at large. Many overt toxic people occupy prominent and authoritative positions to put upon people their grandiose and pompous personality to exercise their control and power. What is ironic is some of these people masquerade as loving everybody and in a new age culture, but it's all a ruse. Whilst those individuals are foul and cause severe emotional pain and suffering, it is also the ones that masquerade in the poor me syndrome that need extra attention under a magnifying glass. We know the people that are in the "you don't know how hard my life is" type, who have not had a hard life compared to the majority and are so self-obsessed that they have no concept of empathy and how that translates to other people. Their world revolves around them. It's the me, myself and I rally call. And like drops of poison in the water well, it can slowly start to be corrosive to you and the people they come into contact with. Because of their inherent weakness, selfishness and bitterness, they recruit others into their lair. Those others are unsuspecting. Other weak and pathetic individuals who've had no level of awareness, morality or consciousness for themselves or others. The mask they wear is well constructed, yet fatally flawed. Firstly, it's flawed because it's a mask, and secondly, gravity and erosion soon prevail and reveal the true scales that sit behind the facade. Thirdly, the place where a heart should reside is actually just a dark hole that aches the loneliness and emptiness of their withered soul. In their vitriolic state, they assume that everyone is like them, so they treat others with contempt and disdain. When they are nice, in inverted commas, to others, it's only for a great gain. A plan that they have hatched to deceive as many unsuspecting people as possible. The purpose of the game, of course, is power and control through destruction. People with genuine care and empathy of others find their way of being and living, and they find their behaviour incomprehensible. It's hard to fathom another human actively and outwardly seeking to undermine, harm, and or hurt another human for no known cause. Yet many millions of previous targets will testify to the destruction that these snakes can cause. And I use the word target rather than victim. It is a covert coward that views himself as a victim, yet they will victimize many others for their selfish cause. I use the term target because it's common for weak and jealous humans with no heart, soul or kind spirit to be embittered by the light and brightness in another. So these snakes target that person and seek to draw out the light from them for themselves. It may start with some ideal flattery or false friendship and lots of charm. They place on the kind person's empathy and compassion and pull on their heartstrings. These snakes may idolize you and butter you up until you feel that you can really trust this person. Yet when one looks back with the magnifying glass, the cracks in the mask were quite evident from the start. We've all heard of the fable of the wolf in sheep's clothing. A wolf in sheep's clothing is another idiom of biblical origin used to describe those playing a role contrary to the real character, with whom contact is dangerous and hosts particularly false teachers. How a scrawny, dishevelled wolf, isolated and alone, kills a poor, unsuspecting lamb and after eating it, uses its wool pelt as a coat, covering up its true identity. He manages to sneak into the flock and kill many until the shepherd puts an end to the massacre. The meaning, of course, a dangerous person who's pretending to be harmless, but actually is an enemy who's disguised as a friend. This idiom is a warning that you cannot necessarily trust someone simply because they appear to be kind and friendly. This is where our instincts come in. This is why one's own personal daily work in the development of emotional growth is so important. I personally have been so lucky. Tony Robbins says when you partner with someone, always make sure that they have more to lose than you. In my case, I lost a lot of my time, but nothing else. For the snake and the slug, they are currently assuming I'm devastated and wounded. Naturally, it is disappointing, but even though my content and my work has been plagiarized and blatantly copied, toxic people tend to be a little silly and actually tell you what they're going to do ahead of doing it. I'm just delighted that they are not me. Winston Churchill said, "They can fight me in the trenches and on the benches, but I will win. I will win because I have a conscience. I will win because I have a heart. And I will win because no matter what they think they have stolen from me by way of intellectual copyright, they are not me." People invest in people. Women that come to work with me know, like, and trust me. They know that I understand what they need to protect and empower themselves, and how, of course, to heal their endometriosis naturally. And they know that I really care. There are many people out there now masquerading as caring but actually have no intention of helping. What is certain, just as summer follows spring and autumn follows summer, is that eventually the trust will be revealed. Their true nature will come to light. Their lack of care and concern for others will show through, because that can't be copied or cloned or plagiarized. It's a feel-found element of human connection. It is something that toxic people are void of. The caring, connection, compassion, and empathy. You can't fake these incredible personality traits for long. One might try, but the slip-ups become more evident with each and every encounter. Ironically, these toxic people are somewhat stupid. Had they kept their bitterness and bolstering and grandiose under wraps, then they would have gained much more as a person and as a human. They may have gained more wealth from themselves and material items, but most importantly, the wealth that comes from real love and connection with safe, genuine people. They will never have that because at their core they're rotten and bitter. The golden goose fable describes this beautifully. There was a golden goose that laid the farmer a solid golden egg every day. This egg was worth a considerable amount of money to the farmer. It was reliable, dependable, and valuable. Yet the farmer got consumed with greed and slaughtered the goose in an impatient fury to hurry up the process and claim all the other eggs inside. And yes, you know the story. He killed the goose that laid the golden eggs. So no more eggs for the farmer. Many toxic people are shrouded within their empty, inflated, egotistical bubbles, think that they are better and above all others. Yet unless they have a supply of air continually inflating their balloons, yes, that's right, the balloon that goes flat as a pancake, they are filled with hot air, literally. They got greedy and their ego became so grandiose that they literally killed the goose that laid the golden eggs. I've been assured by my coach that this is a good sign of my continued growth as a person and as a business, that these types of people that I used to feel sorry for will fall under my radar every now and again. And I also believe that they have taught me so much. They have taught me that I could again accomplish feats that I never knew were possible, and whilst I was literally doing all the work and carrying them every time, next time I will do it alone and with much greater distance and greater boundaries put in place. I am disappointed, yet not that surprised. The colluding nature and the gang mentality which starts in kindergarten apparently never stops with snakes and trolls and slugs. So what can you do about it if you find yourself in a similar situation? Recognise first of all that it's not your fault. It is actually your light that draws toxic people to you, so therefore it's your responsibility to ensure that you erect new, healthy boundaries regularly. What is a boundary, I hear you ask? It is a commitment to yourself in one particular area that ensures that your voice and needs are met for yourself, that you actually keep yourself number one. It may be that you find communication with this toxic person really challenging, to say the least. I remember how it was like World War III on every single subject or matter with one of my exes, even from choosing a Christmas tree or to what we had for supper. How toxic people feed off literally being evasive, and what would be a simple yes or no answer or reply to a question becomes an exhausting back and forth dialogue. It is not your fault, but if you recognise that this might be happening at home or family or friends or colleagues, and even with work colleagues, know that the fun of the game for them, and it's a game, is to gaslight you, upset you and confuse you, even during this corona crisis time. In psychological terms, it's referred to as cognitive dissonance, where the words do not match the actions. It is very confusing to the prefrontal cortex thinking part of your brain, especially when the toxic person reflects. Yet these hypocritical people profess in grandiose terms about love and spirituality, yet when you dig a little deeper and ask more questions, there is no substance or core to these individuals. It's like those kids in the school playground who exaggerate that their toy is bigger and better than their friends, yet they have no toy. I've learnt that despite my old conditioning to give to others ahead of myself, that it is now and completely redundant. Some cultures and religions state that in their teachings, I believe that the toxic people of the world, for their only focus is on themselves at the expense of others. I personally don't need reminding because I genuinely care about many other people, especially the millions of misunderstood women with endometriosis and adenomyosis. Women with endometriosis invariably have had those bodies that have been fighting toxic forces on many fronts for decades, and they understand about the persons that sometimes are in direct relation to them. How the snake may slither and slyly pull in other people into the game referred to as flying monkeys, after the Wizard of Oz film, when the witch sends flying monkeys to attack Dorothy. But I do believe that karma does come around in the end. If you wait long enough, they'll always get their comeuppance eventually. But until then, here are some areas to be aware of, or red flags, if you think that they can be called upon. Number one, if you feel that you have been rushed or have this intense soulful connection, slow the relationship down. Allow this new person to reveal themselves fully to you from behind the mask. If they are rushing you and then raging at you for not moving quickly enough, that is a red flag to walk away. If they are not toxic, then they will respect you and slow down. And if they are toxic, you've saved yourself months and years of suffering, and you're not meant to suffer. Number two, something was off, but you just can't put your finger on it. Your instincts are unsettled, and maybe you have a sore stomach, or you're running to the toilet, or you have pain in your neck, head and shoulders. Pay attention to your body and journal your thoughts. Number three, cognitive dissonance. Conversations between two adults are supposed to be easy. It's not meant to be an exhausting battle each and every time you wish to discuss something. The actions are what you should be paying attention to, not the words. Invariably, a toxic person will say one thing and then do something quite different. Watch for those blatant blunders and write them down on paper and keep a record. You are not the crazy one, but they'll want to make you doubt yourself. Disproportionate rage and anger. This particular snake had a vitriolic outpouring of rage and anger that he justified and felt fully entitled to have over one small insignificant situation. These people's anger and rage, the velocity of it, is designed to unsettle you and to control you and have power over you, and maybe make you feel like you're walking on eggshells. So, if you are noticing this in any relationship, whether it be over the phone or in person, disengage, step back mentally and physically, and be clear with them that this behaviour is totally unacceptable. And again, journal about what has happened so they can't distort your version of reality. Number 5, lack of empathy. A good test to gauge a person's degree of empathy is to ask them to explain their feelings surrounding an unfortunate situation from the past. Your own exquisite instincts will tell you how genuine their response is or how not. Their intense need to win. You will know when you're around a toxic snake of a person, when they have this disproportionate need to win and power over and control you. Whereas you come from a place of wishing to negotiate and reach a resolution, an amicable solution, you learn early on that it is their way or no way. Again, this is where establishing clear boundaries is essential for emotional and physical health and protection. Again, journal about this if you're involved with somebody, because there's many people out there that are causing you distress. Number 7, insecure feelings. Do you have a sense of insecurity but feel there is no basis for it? Then this is a part of the snake charm dance, the charming devil that takes you straight to hell. When they first engaged with you, they probably love bombed you, and they created these dopamine feelings in your brain to chemically attach to them. And as soon as they feel that you are ensnared in their snake pit, then the withholding, withdrawing and game playing begins. They might suddenly become evasive when asked questions like when are they coming back or calling next. Or they might make an arrangement and then pretend they forgot, or start to openly flirt with a woman in front of you to try and make you jealous, or just plain giving you the silent treatment for no reason. And then when you ask them if everything is okay, they say everything is fine, yet your instincts are saying it's not. And as soon as they feel that you're ensnared, they'll keep playing the games. So when insecure feelings arise, remember to come back to yourself. Indulge heavily in your journaling and meditation and relaxation and an abundance of self-care. It is a losing game trying to talk through anything with a toxic snake-like person because they do not care about anyone other than themselves. So you have to make sure that you're taking care of you all the time. Someone who is a nice, genuine, caring person like you will advocate and support your need to do this. A toxic person may complain and gripe and groan and try and make you feel guilty. Put in those boundaries, and to figure out what they might be for you, journal every morning and connect with your inner wisdom and guidance. Learn to trust yourself and your instincts above all others, for the body that you live in has to carry you around for a few more decades, and the brain needs trained to manage the mind so that anxiety can be acknowledged, heard, soothed and directed for your health. So as a final word of warning, watch for the wolves in sheep's clothing or the sleeked and slithery snakes that move around in the grass. Some may approach all innocently, looking albeit a bit weird, and the biggest telltale sign is when you feel sorry for them. For those snakes are who they are, and by their very nature have not a care about anyone other than themselves. That is not your fault, and neither your responsibility to fix them or to try and change them. They mistake your kindness for weakness, and you are stronger than anyone ever permitted you to believe. If you're relating to any of these topics, then make sure to educate yourself about toxic people, for they are very unhealthy and not to be engaged with in any capacity. Read all you can about toxic people, narcissistic people, psychopaths, sociopaths. Educate yourself. As Martin Luther King said, education is the one thing that they cannot take away from you. An education about how to protect yourself from toxic people may well save your life and benefit your health. To your health.
Thanks for listening to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with Wendy K. Laidlaw, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and rate us. If you're interested in learning more, you can download your top 5 jumpstart tips at healendometriosisnaturally.com and jump on the VIP email list. Remember to keep you number one, for the world needs a healthy you.